We are in the book of Genesis, chapter 27, beginning a new chapter dealing with Isaac blesses Jacob. We're going to start with reading from Genesis chapter 7, verse 1, and we'll just start from there. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. All right, so it says, and it came to pass. So at this point, that a lot of time has expired, and has expired so much that now Isaac is very old. Now we know that around this time, Isaac he lived to about 137 years old, and that in his elder years, it looks like he has. It says his eyes were dim, but it's pretty much from the context of what we get from the story. He's only to discern who Jacob and Esau were not through visual sight, but through smelling and touch. So pretty much when it says eyes were dim, that's really it really should say from our terms, we would say he would be legally blind at this point. Right. Although it does say so that he could not see. So when it's talking about that his eyes were dim, it goes on to say so that he could not see. So he's really is blind, right? Legally blind. He cannot tell anything, discern between the visual appearance of his sons. He's unable to do that. We're going to be able to determine that. And again, it goes on to say that he called his eldest son Esau unto him, saying, My son. Of course, Esau replies back to him, saying, Behold, here am I. Now, that phrase that we see here, Esau replying back to Isaac, his father, Here am I, behold, here am I. That phrase is important because later on we're going to see when Jacob approaches Isaac, he's going to say, Here am I as well. Right. So he's using the same kind of speech, the same kind of verbiage as well, to try to further create a little bit of deception so that Isaac is unable to discern who he is, along with some other factors we're going to see, features that we're going to see that are going to be employed to take advantage of Isaac's blindness. And that's why this starts out with saying it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim. That's the focal point of what's going to allow Isaac or allow Isaac to put the blessing upon Jacob is focused on because there's this blindness here. So that is the focal point of this entire chapter here, dealing with how Isaac ends up blessing Jacob. It's because his eyes were dim, or he's blind. Right. At this point in the life of Esau and Jacob, since they were twins, it's considered that they were no more than 70 years old. Isaac is 137, but these men were pretty old in age. So it gives us an idea as well as that Jacob, he's going to leave from here and he's going to go and get a wife as well. They were pretty old, these men, Now, Esau was married he got his first two wives at age, I think it says age 40 is when Esau ends up getting his, but Jacob doesn't get his until much later. But God still blesses him. He gets the two wives, of course, and he has all these children. So these Jacob is pretty old before he actually obtains a lot of the things that he's looking for in his life, right? Verse 2 says, And he said, Behold, now I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now, this is a little uniquely different because what we're going to see is for most of the patriarchs, they have a general idea that the Lord speaks to them and lets them know that they're going to die. We're going to see that with Moses. We're going to see that a lot with a lot of the patriarchs. We're going to see that they have a general idea of what they know when they're going to die. But in this case, when it comes to Isaac, he does not have any idea. He just knows that he's old, and he says, "I don't know the day of my death." It has not been revealed to him as well. So he's going to go ahead and he's going to start the process of making sure he puts the blessing on the firstborn, the birthright, and the blessings that come along with it. Go ahead and apply that to Esau because that is his right as being the oldest son. So he gives instructions to Esau. He says, "Now therefore," so he um, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. He then gives instructions to Esau. He says, "Now therefore, I pray thee, thy now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out into the field, and take me some." Oh, I left off a verse here. Let me see what that should say here. Uh, and some venison is what I thought. I said, take me some venison. All right. So Isaac is getting ready to um, give him the blessing. And part of him giving the blessing is that he wants to eat. And then after being satisfied, then he wants to then distribute the blessings, which is pretty much the tradition, the way things are done. When your belly is full and you're thankful for all the blessings and that God has provided to you, then you give thanks and you give blessings, and he's going to bless his son. Right. So this is what I call scene one. Isaac and Esau is set. Isaac thought one thing is going to happen. He's setting the stage for what he thinks to happen, but we're going to see what happens in scene two, and scene three is going to be totally different. Right. So Isaac is offering the opportunity to bless Esau. Right. And we're saying that Isaac's weak eyesight, or his blindness at age 137, is going to place, it's going to be the critical thing that's going to allow this kind of cloak and dagger opportunity for Jacob and his mother, Rebekah, to deceive Isaac into blessing Jacob. Right. And so that's what's going on here that we see here. All right. And we see that the reason why Isaac loved Esau, right, and it's going to play into his deception, is that he loved to eat of the tasty, savory venison, or the wild game that that Esau would bring for him. So Isaac had this love for this special palate for wild game, but that's going to be the source and cause of one of the sources and cause of his deception, along with his blindness and other things we're going to see here. Right, verse 4, he says, "And make me some savory meat, which such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may be blessed before I die." So when Isaac's going to be blessed by eating this venison, when his soul is blessed, that's going to put him in this great position of feeling like my son has blessed me with the things that I love. Now I'm going to turn around and pour out a blessing upon him. As my soul has been blessed, I'm going to finally bless Esau with the birthright, and with the blessings that comes with the birthright as well. Right, now we already know that Jacob already has the birthright because Esau sold it to him. Right. So Isaac wants a meal before he blesses Esau, and so we see that these two things are tied together. Right. How much Isaac loved Esau because he loved to eat the venison. But one of the things is that Rebekah, we're going to find out, is listening to this. And we see something about the character of Esau. When this blessing was to take place, it was going to be both for the birthright, and this blessing includes the birthright and other kind of blessings that go along with this. And the one thing that Esau should have said up front when his father's saying, "Oh, I'm going to bless you with his birthright, I'm about to die. I'm going to bless you with his birthright and this blessing that comes along with the birthright. I'm going to put this all upon you right now." Esau should have stopped his father and said, of course, he was not going to do that, to say, "You know what, dear father, I've already sold my birthright to Jacob. You actually should give this blessing. The birthright needs to go to Jacob, but I'll take any other blessings that you have to give to me." Now, if Esau was an upright person, I know we always talk about Jacob being the one being the deceiver here, but I mean, the rights of the birthright had already been sold to Jacob, and Esau never confessed that to Isaac to say, "You know what? I sold the birthright. The birthright needs to go to Jacob, but I'll take any other blessings that are available, my dear father." But he doesn't do this. He listens to what his father said. "I'm going to bless you when you come and bring back the venison. You bless my soul, and I'm going to bless you." So that's strike number one against Esau, right? One of the things this also establishes here is that why would Isaac bless Esau? Chapter 26 ended with Esau at age 40 taking two wives, and these wives were Canaanite wives, and they were Hittite wives, Hittite women in their nationality of origin, but they were living in the land of Canaan, so they were considered Canaanite women, right? And the chapter 26 ends with them saying that the wives of Esau, they made the lives of Rebekah and Isaac bitter. They made their lives bitter. They basically terrorized and tormented them, right? So then we'll be like, well, why then would Esau then turn around, knowing that he had already violated the covenant that had been passed from Abraham to Isaac, and it's supposed to go from Isaac to the firstborn, that they were not to marry the Canaanite women of the land. Esau had already violated that. And it was very important of what the birthright meant. That it was through the lineage that the promised seed will come, the Messiah spoken of in the book, in the Genesis, right? In the garden, right? And then spoken to Abraham, and then spoken to all the other patriarchs. leading up to Abraham. And Isaac being a protector and a holder of that birthright, why would he not see that there would be a problem with passing on this birthright because it was already in violation? So there's some issues related to that as well. So I can see then why Rebecca, on many instances, is stepping in. One of the other things before we kind of move on here is that it appears that Isaac is not aware of the prophecy that was given to Rebekah. Rebekah is aware that the older is going to serve the younger, that there's going to be the reversal of the position of the birthright. The older is now going to be subservient, and the younger is going to assume the position of authority and the heir of the family. But it seems like, from what we understand, that information was not privy. It appears that Rebecca, when we go back and look at the scriptures, Rebecca, there was a struggle in her womb, and she inquired of the Lord personally, say, what is going on? And the Lord revealed this to her. So it appears that she kind of held this thing in her, this prophecy, this revelation, this understanding. She kind of kept that to her, probably not fully really understanding what was going on, right? But she kind of kept that. But then it looks like with time she became aware of the significance of that, especially once Jacob also was managed to swindle Esau out of his birthright, and Rebecca was aware of that, understanding that okay, he's already sold his birthright, right? And so anything else should go to him as well. So she was aware of that. And she didn't play a role in the deception as well. And Esau, Jacob and Esau, when Jacob was able to get the birthright from Esau, he didn't engage in any deception as well. He was upfront. Hey, for this porridge, I give me your birthright, and it was a fair exchange, agreed upon, consenting exchange. So there was no deception in that part as well. But it looks like one Esau was not upright in saying, "Hey, I've sold my birthright. I can't take that blessing. I'm sorry, dear father Isaac." Um, but it appears that Rebecca's hearing what's going on, and she knows that he's already sold the birthright, and she's moving to maintain the proper order and prophecy, fulfillment of the prophecy that God had revealed to her, understanding that Jacob already had the birthright, and that Esau was already in violation because he had already married Canaanite women, and they were grievous to both her and her husband, Jacob. All right, so continue on here. Verse 5, it says, and Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. So it looks like Rebekah was kind of listening in the tent here, and she heard what was going on. And knowing that Jacob already had the birthright, and also knowing that Esau was not of character to be worthy to have the birthright, the scripture says that God loved Jacob and he hated Esau. And that kind of information was privy to Rebekah, knowing that God had already chosen Jacob to obtain the birthright. He would be the younger, the older would serve the younger. So she was aware of these things. So when she heard this, and when she heard that, she did not hear Esau step up and say, you know what, dear father, Jacob has given sold the birthright to Jacob. So Rebecca heard this, that he wasn't upfront in saying these things. So she's moving to ensure that the blessings that come along with the birthright, that Esau gets that Jacob gets that as well. And that is not given to Esau. Esau had already given up that right as well. She's ensuring that, also had knowing the prophecy that had been spoken to her. She's fulfilling that. And it looks like, again, as we says, Isaac did not seem to be aware of that as well. Verse 6, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother. Now, one of the things here that we see is that how the scriptures kind of refer to Jacob, right? Rebekah, it says here, Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son. Of course, we know that the scripture says Isaac loved Esau and Rebecca loved Jacob. And here we can see that she's claiming, she's like claiming Jacob as like her son. Not that she's disowning Esau, but in a sense, she's disowning Esau, right? She's claiming Jacob as her son. Like this is, what's that? Yeah, of course he has some favorite as well, but it's like she's like, this is my son. The other one has been despised and been like rejected, like he's been scorned, right? He doesn't belong. He doesn't belong to have the title and the name or anything like that. But Jacob does, right? Jacob is worthy of these things. That's how it's kind of how phrase that Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, right? Saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother. She didn't say, I heard my thy father speak until until my other son Esau. She said, to thy brother Jacob. So we see there is this favoritism and preference, and as if Esau is not worthy to be the first eldest son and to claim the firstborn elder son and to claim this heir. We already see that they're saying. Verse 7, bring me venison and make me savory meat that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Right. So Rebekah hears Isaac saying that to Esau. Right. And she knows that this is the time for the birthright and the blessing that comes on with the birthright to be exchanged, right? Because Isaac said, I don't know my death. So I call this seeing to Rebekah and Jacob. Their plot is going on. So Rebekah has sent Jacob into action to stop Isaac, right, from transferring the birthright. But it doesn't matter because Jacob already has that. So she's bringing that to the fulfillment, right? Because Jacob, as we said, is Rebecca's favorite son. And she, I'm quite sure, was already aware that he had the birthright as well, because they were so tight and close together, right? And she was determined that he should also receive the blessings that go along with that birthright as well, because a representative of the Lord had spoken that to her, that she was to, or the Lord had spoken that to her, that Esau was going to serve Jacob, right? And she wanted all the blessings that come along with the divine inheritance as well, right? Verse 8, it goes on, it says, now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. So this actually wasn't Jacob's idea. Jacob had no idea that Isaac was going to go ahead and put the blessing upon Esau. He had no idea that. It happened to be Rebekah was the one that became aware of it, right? So it's Rebekah was the one that was really the one that was initiated this whole um, process of ensuring what Esau had given up and had sold. Rebecca wanted to make sure that you sold that, it belongs to Jacob, and all the blessings that come along with it. You have lost that. You've given that up. It belongs to Jacob now, and she is ensuring that. Also, the prophecy that had been provided as well, it goes along with goes to Jacob. Notice that she says, "Obey my voice." So she's commanding and telling him, "No, you do what I am telling you to do. I am your mother. I have an understanding here. A prophecy has been given to me. I understand what's going on. And I'm calling you to do this because the prophecy has been given to you. So do what I command thee to do." So this was a commandment given to Jacob by his mother. His mother's doing it because she had an understanding of a prophecy that had been revealed to her by the Lord, right? So she says, "Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 kids of goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth." Now Rebecca must be this great cook, because what Isaac loved was venison. There's a big difference between venison and goat. So if she felt that she was able to take goat and make it taste like savory venison. So that's what I'm saying, man. Rebecca is a great cook. I mean, I've had goat before, and I'm not a fan of goat, but the way it seems like, and I've had Jewish food before too. And I tell you, man, Jewish food is not the most flavorful food. But evidently, the way it looks like Esau was cooking up his food, man, he was making it extremely flavorful. But it looks like Rebecca was a greater cook because she was able to take goat meat and make it savory and make it taste like venison, right? And so I was like, wow, she must be pretty good. All right, but then it goes on to say here that she wanted 2 good kids of goats. Right. The reason why she needed 2 kids of goats, because there's going to be 2 things that are going to be going on here, right? Which we're going to find out, which you guys already know the plot of the story. The goat is both for the cooking, for the food, right? For this fake venison, savory fake venison, and but also the 2 kids skinned the 2 kids of the goats, these young goats, right? There, he's gonna keep the hide or the skin, and we know that that's going to be used for the hairiness that's going to be on the arms of Jacob, to give the physical touch and sensation that it's the hair of Esau. And she's going to put it both on his arms, stuff like that, on his hands, and also put it on the back of his neck. And that's, and so when Isaac touches Jacob, she'll feel this goat skin hairiness of the goat skin and be deceived and thinking that it's Esau. So Esau, man, was very, very, very hairy, it seems like, right? Red and hairy. So that's the purpose of having these two goat kids. I will tell you this, that I do believe as we continue to read this, that she had already planned a action plan was already put in place. And as soon as she heard these things, she was immediately just jumping into action of what she already knew what to do, how to do it, when to do it. She already had it planned out. I believe that she was already working on this whole savory goat thing, knowing how to cook her husband's meal the way Esau cooked it as well. Already had the plan of getting these two goats together because she immediately jumped into actions when she heard it. Immediately already had it planned out. We're going to see other things as well that kind of gives an indication that she was already waiting on this day to ensure the prophecy that had been told to her, knowing that Jacob had already obtained the birthright because Esau had already sold it, right? Because it meant nothing to her. All right, verse 10, it says, "And thou shalt bring it to thy father that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death." So this is the scene two of Rebekah and Jacob working out the same kind of plan. Take these two goats. She's going to cook them up, make them taste good like savory venison. Your father's going to love it. His belly's going to be full. His soul's going to be satisfied. And after he eats it, then he's going to bless thee before his death. Right? So uh, food will deceive him into blessing. Right? That's how it's going to be received. When you look at how this kind of plays out, it's almost as if it's the reversal of the Garden of Eden, right? And in the Garden of Eden, um, Adam and Eve, or Eve so much, looks at something and says, "Ooh, I can see this. I like this." And then she tastes it. And then when she tastes it, right, she thought that she was going to receive a blessing or something, but she doesn't. She receives a curse, right? Then she ends up being covered with something, but she's covered. She has there's a animal covering or skin that's put over her, right? But it's the result of a curse, and then the skin is put over to cover the curse, right? As well. But when we look at this play out here, it's kind of like we see like the reversal of the Garden of Eden. Um, a blessing is able to occur on behalf of Jacob because Isaac cannot see, right? He can't, there's no opening of his eyes to see. So he ends up applying a blessing because of his blindness, right? His eyes not being open, but blind, right? So it allows the opportunity for the blessing. There is this eating of the food, but the eating of the food doesn't bring about a curse like the Garden of Eden. The eating of the food, right, blesses Isaac's soul, and there's a blessing that comes out of it, right? It's kind of it's almost like the reverse of what we see in the Garden of Eden, right? And then as a result of the curse in the Garden of Eden, a skin was used, but here a skin of a goat or an animal is used as a covering over Jacob to bring about the obtaining of the blessing. So it's almost kind of like a reversal that we see here, you know. And the first set, the blessing was upon them, and them looking through the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, you know, all the senses, right? They brought upon themselves a curse. And here, this is the opposite. Jacob is already in a state where he feels like he was not blessed. He was in the state of a curse almost because he wasn't the one that was going to be the reception of the blessings and promises of God. The reverse things, the reversal process happens, right? It's weird, it's strange. I can't really fully explain it, but that's when I'm reading this, I kind of see like a reversal process happening, right? In which he receives a blessing, receives a covering, but it's in the reverse order, and he becomes blessed. He becomes the heir, right? The firstborn. He switches the roles and positions take place. Esau and Jacob are there's a role reversal that's happening here in this place, right? Verse 11 says, "And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, says, Behold, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, not a blessing." So it looks like Rebekah had already thought this out, of course, because this was new to Jacob, right? Jacob's like, no, 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 that's going to fail. Like, he's a hairy man. He's gonna feel me. He's gonna know that I'm not the hairy man that Esau. He's gonna feel me, know that I'm a smooth man. That's why I said Rebekah had already schemed and I don't want to say scheme, but she had already planned this out. So she immediately was telling him, go get two kids of goats. I'm going to cook this meat. I'm going to skin this bad boy. We're going to put him on you. She already had this planned out. But Jacob, not knowing this, he's having to think about how this is not going to work. But she already knew, right? And so he wasn't really a part of this initial process here. He hadn't thought this out like that, but Rebecca was the one because of the information that she had as well, right? So he's already saying, no, this is going to bring a curse upon me. So we think of Jacob as being this great deceiver always from the beginning, but he was saying, I don't want to do this. I'm going to be seen as a deceiver. I don't want to be seen as a deceiver. And if I do this thing and I'm found out, he says, my father's going to put a curse upon me, not a blessing, right? So he was very fearful. Right. Of course, now he wasn't saying that I don't want to do it. I don't want to get this thing. Right. Jacob seemed like he didn't have any guilt about it. His fear was that no, 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 no. Regarding this plan, because she hadn't revealed to him everything yet. She just said, go get me two goats, young kids, young goats, and I'm going to take this venison and I'm going to cook it up. Your father's going to taste it. He's going to eat it. His soul's going to be happy. He's going to bless you. And then Jacob addresses another aspect. Well, I'm smooth. He's hairy. But she was already onto it, right? Because I'm sure it was well known because I'm sure we talked about how Noah was still alive when Abraham was born. Right, we talked about that the years of how they lived. So there was a knowledge of information that had been passed down, and one of the things that I'm sure was understood that Noah ended up cursing Ham because of something that he had done um, to his father. And so Jacob was fearful. He understood that Ham was cursed by Noah. Um, and then the blessing just went upon Shem and Japheth. And so he didn't want any of that to happen to him and his descendants. Like, no, 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 I don't want to try to deceive my father, bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. So we see in his character that, yeah, he didn't really want to be a deceiver like this and bring a curse upon him. But although he didn't show any guilt in the plan, he was like, okay, I'm game for it, but I don't want to be caught, right? We see that here. And verse 13 it says, and his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice. So we're going to see her say, obey my voice. I don't know if is this the second time? We're going to hear my voice three times said here, or multiple times said here. So it's like, obey my voice, hear my voice, then, obey my voice. So, over and over, it's like, obey my voice, obey my voice. All right. So he has just been told, like, obey, 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 obey. She's telling him that because she has an understanding about the will of God, right? She has this inside information about God's willingness to flip the script on what we talked about, that the promises of God, the covenant of God, is not based on by the will of man, by blood, or by kindred, anything like that. It's going to be based on those that seek after and that desire the covenant, to be a part of the covenant, right? That's how the covenant is given, right? Not just by nationality or genetics or family name or anything like that. It's given to whosoever will, let him come, right? Seek after it, will follow after me, right? Chases, God loves who seeks after him. He draws near or nigh to them. That's the promises of the covenant, right? But Rebecca here says that, you know what? Um, let the curses be upon me. So she saw that the blessings and the birthright were in danger, and all must be risked, including the possibility of the curse coming upon Rebecca, because she understood that Esau was not worthy of it. And Esau chose these wives that were just bitter to them and just brought grief into their lives, right? Grief of mind to them, just tormenting them as well. And Esau did not confess that the birthright had already been given, sold to Jacob as well. And she loved Jacob. She did not want anything to be denied from her son. Right. Verse 14 says, and he went because Rebecca said, you know what, if anything happened, the curse will be upon me. All right. You will not be cursed as a result of whatever happens, good or bad. The curse will be upon me. So he says, all right. And then she says, you know what? Only obey me, my son. Go do what I tell you to go fetch these goats. So he goes, verse 14, and he went and he fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. So she was able to replicate that. So that's part one, right? We're going to see that everything that she does, which each step that she does, we're going to see that there's a blessing that comes out of each thing. There's a blessing we're going to see that comes out of him eating it, right? Passing the test of the savory venison. Then a blessing is going to come from that. When we're going to see a blessing is going to come out of him feeling the hairy skin. A blessing is going to come out of that. He's going to smell like the field, right? Because a goat smells like a field. If you go smell a goat, you're like, yeah, this animal has been outside, right? Smells like you've been outside in the hot sun. So all of these senses that are left with Isaac, based on these senses, a blessing is going to come out of these things. So that's what I'm saying. This is like a complete reversal of what we saw in the Garden of Eden. From the senses, right, it led them to disobey God. And from the senses that Rebekah employs against Isaac, it ends up blessing Jacob, right? So it's like a complete reversal here, right? We always say, oh, stay away from, the senses can deceive you and lead to your fall or whatever. But in this case, it's a role reversal here that's taking place here. So we're gonna see that. So she was able, and he says his mother made savory meat such as his father loved. So she took used goat, and not venison, but turned it in such a way that deceived him. And he thought that he was eating venison. So here we see there's deception on the half of Isaac. Uh, he's deceived. Rebecca was able to take something and use his taste to deceive him, but it's going to end up blessing Jacob in the process. Now it says, verse 15, it says, and Rebecca took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. So here, this is what I'm saying, that Rebecca was waiting on the opportunity and the time that that Isaac will say that he was going to bless Esau. Not only did she already have a plan to get around the food that he loved, right? She had already figured out how to take goat and make it taste like the venison, savory, just like how Esau would make it. She already knew that he had certain types of goodly raiment that he would wear for an opportunity like this. She had already sequestered it and already had it with her in her house already. So that it was already in her. So I'm saying she had already planned what the Lord had told her about, that she was going to, that Jacob, whom she loved, was going to be the act as the older son and receive the birthright and the blessing, and Esau would not. She already had these provisions already ready to go, right? She already had a plan out to bring forth this prophecy. So the goodly raiment she already had in her tent with her, right? And she put them on Jacob, her younger son. So man, she had this thing already planned out. So Jacob didn't know all this stuff was going to go on. He didn't know what was necessary needed to fulfill this, right? But every step that she did was necessary for each, we're going to find out, for a blessing to occur. Now, there's something deeper to this, right, that I'm not fully aware of yet. And so I have to continue praying about this. And maybe the next time we come through, I'll put a little more meditation and prayer on this, because we see that every step that she's doing, a blessing comes out of it. We're going to see that. So there's a revelation that had been given to her about how to do this, to bring about what God had told her, that Jacob was going to be the elder and like his position in place, and Esau was going to be reversal, and Esau was going to serve Jacob like that. And there was something that was already been revealed to her. So she had everything ready to go, and immediately was able to implement it and bring out all of the blessings that would be given to Esau, based on who Esau was, based on what Esau was able to cook, what Esau would wear, how Esau would feel, how Esau would smell, all of those things that she was able to bring into consideration and make preparations for, so then that Isaac would be flipped, and he would be able to obtain have all of that put upon him to receive all the blessings, almost like what Christ does. There's a reversal of role, and everything of Christ is given to us and put upon us to enable us to receive all the blessings of the firstborn Son of God is put upon us. That's not a good analogy of that, but there's a lot here that I have not yet spiritually be able to bring out to you all yet. Um, but so she already had all of the raiments of her older son. That's why it stresses here is that she had the goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, of her eldest son Esau here, right? Already with her in preparation for this opportunity here, right? And then she puts the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. So she already had this stuff already planned out of what to do. Grab his clothing, right? Grab his skin, put on his hands. Now, she didn't reveal all of this at the time to Jacob, what her whole scheme and plan was, how it was all going to work out. He expressed reservation, but she already had it already planned out and ready to go. So she immediately took those skins, cleaned them up, prepared them, and already was slapping them on his hands, on his arms, and things like that. Right here, verse 17. Right. It says, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. Right. So she gave him all this stuff, the meat, and she gave him some bread, and of course the clothing and the goat skin, the young baby goat skin. Put that on her son's hands and everything, and she gave it to him. So, um, and the thing about this is kind of strange is that Jacob is blessed due to the work of Rebekah. So Jacob didn't actually come up with all this himself. He just happened to be the recipient. Like all of these things were put upon him. This likeness of the firstborn is transferred to the secondborn, and all the rights of the firstborn were transferred to the secondborn because of the covering or the nature or the characteristics of the firstborn is given to the secondborn, right? Because the firstborn didn't deserve it, right? And it's given to the secondborn. And so it's like, we talk about the first Adam and then Christ being the second Adam, right? A blessing and promises were put upon the first Adam. The first Adam, of course, he failed, right? And then all of that is finally given and put upon the second Adam, of course, which is Christ, right? And then we become recipients of that as well because all the characteristics, the nature of Christ, we are made righteousness of Christ is put upon us. We see a lot of kind of like the symbolism here, which again, I'm struggling to kind of really pull it out with clarity, but I kind of see some things here. But what we see here is that Jacob is blessed not because of anything that he has done. It's the revelation that has been revealed to Rebekah by God, and she prepares the work, knowing the word of the Lord and knowing somehow all the blessings that would be resulting from the character, the nature of Esau, that those things about him was going to bring about a blessing. And she was able to transfer all of that to Jacob. So Jacob is blessed not to his own work, but the work of Rebekah. She did everything. She cooked everything. She did the goat skin. She went and gathered up the raiment and everything, the goodly raiment, and put all of that upon Jacob. He didn't do anything of that himself, right? We see that here. Right? Although we look at this previously, we say, oh, Jacob was the great deceiver. He did all this stuff. But no, it actually was, he didn't do any of this stuff. He inherited the birthright because he desired it. He didn't do anything for it. Rebekah did the work and transferred everything unto him, and he's in that being blessed. All right, verse 18. Right. So this goat acts as like this offertory meal, and the goat skins acts as this covering that we see here, right? Which I don't fully understand it altogether, but there's some significance to this offertory meal that blesses Isaac's soul, and out of this offering being offered up to Isaac of the in this case it's a goat being offered up, these two goats being offered up, out of that it blesses the soul of Isaac, and then Isaac then out of that offering and the tasting of the savory tasting of this offertory meal that's offered up before Isaac then allows him, then he's satisfied and he pours out the blessings that are his, right, onto Jacob, which would go to Esau. And there's something in that as well, along with the covering that happens as well. There's a lot of spiritual symbolism that I have not yet come to fully be able to explain it yet. But with time, it will come. Verse 18, it says, and he came unto his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I. So again, we talked about this was the same kind of expression that when Isaac had called Esau, he says, come, my son. He says, here am I. He says, I'm going to bless you. So they're using the same kind of wording. Jacob is using the same kind of words again, right, that his father. So now we're in scene 3, I call. Jacob deceives Isaac and obtains the blessing, scene 3, right? So he uses the same phrase, my father. He says, here am I, right? Using the same phrases as Esau, same speech, same phrases. That's part of the deception as well. Here that's going on, right? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn, right? So he's now, this role reversal says he has completely taken on the role and identity of the firstborn. This, for what he is providing as an offertory meal of these goats. He has the garments of the firstborn has been put upon him. The covering of the firstborn, of the appearance of the firstborn, whatever the firstborn appears like the Esau, he has taken on that identity, has been put upon him, not by his own means or his own works or anything like that, but has been given to him by Rebekah according to the will of God, that this birthright and the blessings belong to him. and the provisions have been given to him through Rebekah, the one who carried the word, right? This wisdom is this understanding, right? So he says, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison. It's not even venison, it's goat, that thy soul may be blessed. So here we see this, this kind of deception of of the senses of tasting, stuff like that. And then he's supposed to eat of this venison, and then his soul is going to be blessed. And then out of that, his Isaac's soul being blessed after eating, right? He's going to be blessing. So again, it's like this reverse of what we see in the Garden of Eden. Out of the deception of eating, right? The blessing is going to come out of it. So Jacob's basically going to eat his way into the first blessing, right? We're going to see here. Verse 20 says, and Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? Right? Because the venison, you have to go out there, you have to stalk it, you have to hunt it, you have to go into the field. It may take you hours, a full day to go and do. Then you have to field dress it, and then you got to carry it back, and then you have to cook it and all that stuff. And that probably should take a full. It should be nighttime, likely by the time he comes back with this meal all prepared and ready to go. So Isaac is like, son, how do you find this thing so quickly, my son? Right. So we see here that Isaac does have some suspicion here. We're going to see that there's at least three occasions we're going to see that there's some suspicion here. But in the end, he's going to end up blessing him, though. Right. After each suspicion, he blesses him. Right. There's something suspicious here, but I'm going to bless you. There's something suspicious over here. I'm going to bless you. Something, every time he says something suspicious, he still goes and he blesses him. Right. So that's kind of just odd about that. Right. But he says here, and Jacob replies in Genesis chapter 27, verse 20, he says, and he says, because the Lord thy God brought it to me, right? So he brings God into this. He says, the Lord thy God brought it to me, so not so much the venison. So, he didn't actually go out and getting this stuff. It was brought to him. It was brought to him by Rebekah. Rebekah brought it to him, which is, and Rebekah was doing it because the Lord had given her understanding that Esau was not to be the one to inherit the birthright, but Jacob would be that one. But anyway, he says, the Lord thy God brought it to me, right? Verse 27. Verse 21 says, and Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. So he still has some suspicion again. He's like, let me feel my son to see if you are my very son Esau or not. So Isaac was not intending, he was intending to make sure that Esau was the one that received the promise or the birthright and the blessing. So again, I'm saying it seems as if Isaac was not aware of the prophecy, right? That was not revealed to him, but only that was given to Rebekah, right? Because Esau was very intent on ensuring that Esau received this blessing, right? Again, even though Esau was not worthy of it already, right? In verse 22, and it says, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, So he felt him, right? He felt him. Now he's hearing the voice, all right? But based on hearing the voice and feeling him, he says the voice is Jacob's voice. So he's like, man, this is Jacob's voice. But the hands of Esau. So remember now, of course, we know that Rebekah told him, put the goat skin, the young goat's hairy skin on your hands, because your father is going to touch that. And when he touches that, he's going to say, this is Esau, right? So he's going to be deceived by touch here, right? Verse 23, and it says, and he discerned him not. So he wasn't able to discern him. He felt him, he wasn't able to discern him. But he said, but because the hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands were, so he blessed him. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it seemed as if Rebekah had an idea that the things that Esau was going to use to determine that Esau was the firstborn son, Rebekah already had a plan for that. So whether it be the food, he prepared that. And from him eating the food, we're going to see he's going to say, this is definitely Esau. This is his venison. My soul is happy. I'm going to bless him because of the venison. We're seeing here, my son has hair. His voice is Jacob's, definitely. But his hands are Esau's. Okay, but based on the feeling of the hands, he blesses Jacob, right? And so we see that. And what kind of perplexes me is that he discerned that this man, this he discerned that this was not so much Esau or Jacob. He's like, the voice is Jacob, but he said he couldn't discern him. He couldn't discern it enough. He couldn't discern enough. Had questions and suspicious, but he says, but then he still went ahead and blessed him. I would have thought that, you know what? He says, I can't discern if the voice is Jacob and the hand is Esau. He says, I can't discern who is what, but he says, based on the hands, I'm gonna go ahead and bless him. But he still knew that this is not Esau. This is Jacob's voice. But he still went ahead and blessed him based on the hairiness of his skin. And that was one of the focal points when we were looking at when they described Esau, that the focal point that this is Esau when he was born was that he was very hairy. And that was the primary characteristic that was used. Like, okay, this is Esau because he's hairy. But again, it was like he could not discern it at all, but he still blessed him. So we see here the blessing, a first blessing happens after he feels him, right? So that's why it says it's very important that Rebekah was aware of that she had to make sure that everything that identified Esau as being the firstborn, in order for Jacob to get all the blessings, the blessing was going to come out of the identity of Esau. And there's something about that, again, I keep saying I don't fully understand, but every identity of the firstborn Esau, a blessing that identified him, there's a blessing that came with it. So he was hairy, he felt him, he's hairy. Blessing number one, it says, as his brother's hands was hairy, verse 23, so he blessed him after feeling him and saying, this is his hair. This is part of his characteristics. It's a blessing, right? Verse 24 says, and he said, thou art my very son. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? Now he's asking again, art thou Esau? But he already done blessed this person, right? He says, and then, Jacob says, I am. So that's what kind of throws me off. I'm like, he goes ahead and blesses this man, although he couldn't discern whether this was Jacob or Esau or not. But he says, based on your hair, on your hand, I'm going to bless you. But he still has suspicion, saying, this is Jacob, right? So he says, hey, art thou my very son Esau? And but Jacob said, he said, I am, right? So we're going to see that there's going to be three occasions that old man Isaac is going to voice his suspicion, but even after every suspicion, he is still going to go ahead and bless him. So he's going to be deceived again by senses of touch, sense of smell. Because of his lack of sight, he's going to continue to bless him, and then he's going to also eat his food, and then out of that, he's going to bless him as well. All along, though, he was like, man, I don't think this is Esau at all. Right. Verse 25. Uh, and it says, and he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison. All right, so now we're getting to the venison part here, right? He says, all right, let's get to the venison part. He says that my soul may bless thee. So there's a blessing that's going to come out of the characteristic behaviors and nature and a physical characteristics of Esau. A blessing is going to come from out of it. So one of the blessings that Esau that gave to Isaac was the eating of the venison. So when he eats it, so all the things that bless Isaac, there's a blessing that was characteristic of the firstborn. He's going to be Isaac's going to bless him. So he eats of the venison that my soul may bless thee, and he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. So now they're enjoying the feast, the meal, right? And he says, I will eat of it that my soul may bless thee. So when it says that my soul may bless thee, so he did eat the venison, his soul was blessed, and he blessed him. So here we're seeing that this is blessing number two after eating the food. So this was very important for Rebekah to have learned how to take this goat. I think she had to work on this before. I mean, unless she's really that good that she can take goat for the first time and cook it and make it taste the same like the venison. I think she had already been planning this out. Okay, this is how I'm going to get Isaac to bless Jacob. These are the things that I need to do that are the characteristics of Esau. And so she was able to perfect this, and so she did. She took that goat and she made it taste like venison, savory venison. He ate it, his soul was blessed, and that was blessing number two after eating and drinking and eating the bread. Right. Then we go to verse number 26. I'm just going to read a couple of these here on this verse on this slide here, and then we'll just kind of stop for time's sake. And Isaac and his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. Verse 27. And he came near, this Jacob, he came near, right? And Jacob kissed him. and he smelled the smell of his raiment. So he smells his raiment, right? So so he feels the goat skins of the hair that was on him. A blessing came from that. Yes, this is Esau. Then he tastes the food. He says, "Boy, this tastes like venison. This is Esau. I'm a blessing after that." Then he the raiment. So remember, I said I believe that Rebekah had this insight enough about Esau and Isaac that with her observing that she already sequestered away his raiment, right? And this raiment was supposed to have this certain smell, and the smell of this raiment was a person that was out in the field laboring, right? And along with the smell of this goat and stuff like that, right? The outdoors and stuff like that, it's all smelled together like Esau. So he said, "Come and kiss me." So he's trying to draw him in, right? So he still has some kind of suspicion. Again, he's like, "Man, this is nuts." He says, "You know what? Let me smell his clothes. Let me smell his raiment." And then when after he smells it, he says, "Yeah, this smells like my son." What does it say here in verse 27? And he smelled the smell of his raiment, of course, which is what Rebekah had already sequestered and put away in her tent, right, for this opportunity. After he had smelled it, he says, and blessed him and said, "See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed." So here we see blessing number three comes after he smells his raiment. So that's why Rebekah immediately from the beginning had a plan already: gather the goats, prepare the food, gather the goats for the skins, for the hair, gather the goat meat so she can make it taste exactly like the venison should taste. Because if at any point she messed up on that, everything would have there would have been a curse. It would have been just a mess, right? And then she knew that she had to gather his raiment because he was going to smell that raiment, because that raiment was going to smell like her son. And out of all these three things that she prepared, a blessing was going to come out of all three of these things. So he secured the third blessing. So it's many of us don't really understand when we read this how many blessings that were given, that would have been given to Isaac, that Isaac would have given to Esau. There was a number of blessings that were given to Jacob as part of this birthright, or this the birth of the blessings that come upon the firstborn son here. But all right, I'm just going to stop right here, and maybe I'll just read verse 28. It says, "Therefore God give thee the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and the plenty of corn and wine." And this is based on him smelling like the field, right? That the Lord has blessed. And so she wanted him. I don't know if she knew that from the smelling of this raiment was going to come this blessing, but she knew out of the characteristics of Esau being the firstborn son, that everything about him, there was a blessing associated with everything about him. And the smelling of his raiment, smelling like the field which the Lord has blessed, that blessing was going to pass on to Jacob, and that God would give him the dew of heaven, right? And the fatness of the earth, and the plenty of corn and wine. So we just kind of pause right there. So she has secured all these blessings for the dear son that she loved. All right. Any comments or questions? Okay. All right. All minds and hearts, I guess, are quiet. Again, if you have any questions or anything like that, if you want to add to this, I'm welcome to receive any spiritual insights about these things here as I continue to kind of meditate and pray about these things as well. Um, about this, because it's very fascinating. So there's a lot there that I haven't brought out yet. I'm hoping it will come. But thank you for joining us again, Richard, and